Well, I grew up about an hour north of New York City in a little town called Austining, New York. I went then to University at Albany, which is a state school about 2 hours north of the city. And I majored in psychology, and I graduated in 3 years and didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up as soon as I exited. So I actually started taking pre-medical coursework after I graduated to try to figure out if I wanted to get into healthcare. I ran an annual fund after college, so I still was there taking classes and trying to work. And then after that, I wanted to try out working in hospitals. I moved to New York City. I worked at Memorial Sloan in pediatrics for a year. I moved to Boston. I worked at Brigham and Women's. So I got the hospital experience and decided I didn't want to be a doctor, that I liked healthcare, but I liked the business side of it. So I ended up getting an MBA in New York City at Pace University in an executive MBA program that was willing to take someone in their 20s. So that was the challenge. But that's a little bit about me. Once I got my MBA, I started working for Siemens, which is a really large German company in the healthcare sector. And I started out in finance, really enjoyed it. And then recently I switched over 4 years ago to IT. So I have a really crazy background, but healthcare has been the string that's binded the career path for me. And yeah, changed careers a bit, but IT is pretty awesome now. Lindsay Krakauer, and I'm the founder of Let's Be Brief. I usually refer to myself as a woman, and use the pronouns her and she. Lesbian, dyke, queer. Those were all words I grew up with that I really loved. In general, so I actually don't have a lot of casual clothing because I work and I'm in a business environment most of the time. But I like to think that I'm 80s suit. I always think of Ducky from Pretty in Pink, and like pointed shoes and like tight pants, and that's usually my style. So actually, the whole thing came around because I dated a lot of people that were in the trans community, and a lot of people that were born more female-bodied but wanted to have something that was a little masculine or a boxer brief. And really, there was like nothing on the market. Hanes made them for a short period of time, but they were still really tough to find, and they stopped making them. There was nothing else. And when we did the original market research, I mean, we basically went and got tons of men's boxer briefs, and all my friends were wearing them, and we market tested different stuff, and it was really a lack of the market. It was a big gap for us. Let's Be Brief, I thought was a little bit edgy, and when I thought of the queer community and the people that I really wanted to sell to and to cater to, it kind of made a reflection of, oh, it could be a minute, it could be longer, underwear should be sexy, it should be fun. And it's just one of the things that came about really early on and market tested really well with the audience. I came up with the idea I wanted to pursue this, and I felt there was a strong enough market need. It was actually my final MBA project. It was an entrepreneurial project, and when I first presented it to the professors, they thought I was joking. And I was like, I'm not. I'm really going to do this. Other people were researching like everything from the Icelandic baking industry to the crash to all these other things, and I'm like, no, I want to do queer underwear. So I pursued it. And by 2011, we had our first launch party, and we're able to take a lot of pre-orders, and it was really fantastic. So I found a great venue that was the Lower East Side, and nobody in the queer community had really gone there yet. And researched it, and I really liked them. They had a small stage, and the inventory for shipment was supposed to be due, and it was running 1 month late, and it was being shipped over from Shenzhen, where we were having it manufactured. And so I actually had to fly in a few boxes, which was super expensive, just to get there that week, because we were already taking pre-orders. And I only had a few finished products on me when we had the launch party because it was delayed. So I put a big poster up in the front, and I pinned all the different styles on, as many as I could. And we had my friends doing the pre-orders, and my friends, All the King Men, who are a drag troupe from Boston that I'd known, came down, and they did a big show there, and it was phenomenal. And it felt like a wedding. For me, it felt like a wedding. All my friends and family and tons of people from the queer scene in New York City showed up and placed pre-orders. It was really supportive.
Yeah.
So I think we started opening doors at about 8 o'clock. And I mean, I was there till like 2 in the morning. So we had a great DJ, Leslie Van Stelton, a New York City DJ that played all in through the night. And the dance music was so good. So we, felt like a wedding. It was fantastic. And at the end, I just was like glowing. Like it just felt like a huge milestone in my life. Shenzhen. I actually had found a partner through, so it's a little bit difficult because back then there wasn't amazing websites that connected you with manufacturers. And so I really had to do tons of legwork, and I did everything end to end on my own. But I found a really fabulous fashion designer that was willing to pattern make with me. And he had a partner, Tony Lee, in New York City, who had a partner with a factory in Shenzhen. And it was really important to me that the factory was like legit, that there were no children workers or, underpaid workers. And Tony had done some manufacturing for a lot of the big names before, and it was a trusted name. So we decided to go with him. But the two, Merlet Auguste was my pattern maker, and Tony Lee was my manufacturer. And together they were really fantastic, really professional. But it took a while. It took a while to get the right fits, the right patterns, and I learned a lot about that process. So again, this is before there were a lot of these mechanisms that helped with like Google Analytics and that kind of stuff. So as I was creating the brand, I really banked a lot on first to market because there was no other company in the industry that had put anything out. Now there are several, but the time it was first to market. And I really had planned to do a lot of word of mouth because I really felt like, especially in the lesbian community, a lot of things and product loyalty comes from referrals. And so I really planned out going to a lot of different Pride events. Going to Dinah Shore was a big one for me. That was probably one of the biggest events I did a few years in a row. And really just trying to start to build the brand of where I knew the queer people were. And the people that would want the product. And it was really, really interesting and really hands-on, especially the first 2 years. And then after that, it really just transitioned to a lot of online sales. And then Facebook analytics, Google Analytics came, and that really helped to drive the online sales that I have now. Only online or in person if I decide to go to an event. Absolutely. So we have everything from thong, hipster, brief, which is looks like a little boy brief, and then a boxer brief. So those are our four main styles, cuts I'll call them. And then we have different kinds of printed patterns on them. And so we have about 5 different printed patterns that we do in this run. Things like the boxer brief comes in like toasters. So it's blue and it's got a pattern print of a toaster on it. Or we have one that has a roller derby girl in a champagne glass. And just things that were kind of kitschy, but things that really, again, tested well with our customer and that were kind of interesting and different. So not just the plain black or the plain pink or whatever you wanted. We wanted prints. And so the price point runs from anything from $10 up to $25. And then, of course, we have really flexible shipping. So usually the shipping is pretty inexpensive with handling, but they last. And for me, it was more about quality than just trying to make a ton of money on volume. Anywhere from 1 to 3. So I'm always there, but I definitely have a lot of people that help out, mainly do shipments a few times a week as they come in. Usually we do a big one on the weekend on Saturday. Just depends what the sales look like that week. So it's really what I'd like to call turnkey. It was a lot more work to set everything up, but once we had the inventory well organized, fulfillment's super easy. And so every time we get orders, it's like print out the packing slips, fulfill, and bring it to the post office. Desire from a lot of different customers. Lindsay, when's the next inventory coming in? What are your next patterns going to be? What about swimsuits? What about this? What about that? For me, this was really my baby, and I never gave up my day job, which was a big deal. A lot of other companies that came, they put like 200% in. I didn't put 200% in after I started the company up, and that was my choice. What I think I'll do is I'll keep the company for a little bit longer. I would love to sell the company to one of maybe the competitor queer brands. I wouldn't want to sell it to a big company. But I think that there's a lot of other things I want to do where I have purpose and I need to do that would have a bigger impact on the community. So those are some of the things I think I'll focus my time on in the future. Yeah, I mean, so a typical day, it won't run my whole day, but maybe like, let's say an hour or two at night. I usually touch base and see how the sales are going that week. Try to plan when I'm going to have to make the fulfillments because I like to turn things around to customers pretty fast. Maybe schedule one or two partnerships that I want to work on for the next month. So company like Fancy, there's new apps coming out all the time, and I really love testing them to see how it impacts sales and, you know, analytics. I'm really into that kind of stuff. And then I'll usually work with I have a fabulous website developer, and she's amazing. And I'll usually talk to her and see what we're planning for the next month, if we're going to do a promotion or sale, or how we're going to roll it out, how things are going with the online merchant, any opportunities, so something like that. So I think, well, the first thing is the whole process is, like I said, way easier now. But when I started, the first thing you have to do is really have a clear business plan and have some estimates and investors. And that's something that's really important, that you're as realistic and that you market research as much as you can up front. In the beginning, I remember calling a company that really catered to the gay boy population to exist. And I talked to one of like their high up marketing guys and asked if he would mentor me and I could ask some questions. And he was fantastic because he really helped with price points and budgets and things like what would be possible. And then I did have to get some investors, and there was no Kickstarter, there was no Indiegogo or anything like that. I mean, you had to make a pitch and you had to find the money. And I started the company with about $60,000, and it wasn't easy. You know, you have to really plan well and make sure that you're utilizing things and sticking to your plan. But then from the beginning, I think it was just lining up the right people to work with me. So between Merlette, who knew pattern making and worked with New York City Fashion Institute of Technology, and Tony, that had manufactured for all these big names. I had a really good friend, Lena, in Colombia, that was actually a printmaker for textiles. So once I came up with some of the ideas of what I wanted on, you know, she really worked with me to do different models of what it could look like. And once we chose the image, she then pattern made the whole thing and made it look perfect so we could print it on long pieces of fabric and textile. She knew how to cut it. I mean, it was really a global effort, a lot of fabulous people. But I'd say the hardest thing was the actual pattern making of the underwear. So after we had sourced some material locally in New York City, and we did fits and pattern making in New York City, and I used my girlfriend at the time and my cousin, who were sizes that were different to me, to make sure that it fit all the different sizes. Then you spec everything out, and then you go to China and you try to find your partners. So, I mean, we secured actually one factory that just made the banding, because the banding is a completely different manufacturing than the rest of the underwear. And so once we identified them and we had them producing the banding, then we went and we found somebody that could supply the fabric. Then we had to do the pattern making again. So they shipped some fabric back to New York City. We refitted everything. It was completely different specs. And then we send it back and we tell them what the prints are. And then we get a few tests to see what the quality looks like. And so it was really a back and forth process, really, really hard. And it was really hard for me also to select the final manufacturer, because I had a lot of contacts in Colombia and I was looking at China or Colombia for a long time. And there was a major risk at the time in Colombia where things were getting stuck at the border if there was a suspicion, and we didn't know if it was going to make it to the US. So at the end of the day, that risk kind of, drove me towards China when I finally found a good manufacturing partner. like I said, I think the number one seller for a long time has been this boxer brief cut, and this was really the bread and butter of why I started this business. It was the most masculine inspired underwear, and it had a fit for people that were more female bodied, even people that were transitioning, that still had that bio body. It really was something that just fit them better. And the interesting part about all of it was, like, when I first started to sell, there were a lot of people that were not female bodied, and these were specifically made to fit female bodied people. And they were coming up and saying, oh, I'm going to wear this at the beach, or I'm gonna, as a bathing suit, or I'm just going to get this for my son, or I'm going to do this. And I was just like, wow, this is more inclusive than I ever dreamed of, with the warning of, I don't know if this thong is going to completely cover everything you want, but go for it. But it was really the community supporting me so much as a lesbian-owned business owner. It was amazing. So that was a surprise. I didn't think my customer would be, let's say, the 16 to 18-year-old or anything like that. I guess I had pictured my customer in the 20s to 50 bracket, or even above. So it was more of an older customer, more mature customer. And I just tried to think of things that were funny to me as I got older. So like the toaster, a lot of young people, I don't know if they even get it. I mean, Ellen had said, and my generation would know that you would get a toaster if you had converted someone or got with someone. But I don't know if that would have really stuck with the younger generation. So when I think of trends now, I think of a lot of stuff that's hot for younger people. And I'm like, I don't know if I necessarily would have go there, or I just stick with what I've been doing that's working, especially because I'm probably not going to do it the rest of my life, but it will live the course of the life of the company. Another example was like Trophy Wife. Trophy Wife was something that as my friends started to get gay married and queer married, it was like really important to be able to use these kinds of terms too in a joking way. So that's another one of the patterns we produced. I guess that's a really hard question to answer. I always think of people like, I don't know, Chloe Savini or Pink, or people that are just really comfortable being gender fluid, and, they could wear a boxer brief and be totally comfortable. I just always thought about people comfortable in their skin, but looking for something that fits them, and not them trying to fit something that's on the market. Maybe that's the essence of what I'm trying to say. I actually have a friend that was an actress in university, and we had met, and she's actually doing really well for herself in Hollywood, Sarah Croce, and she was in some of the shots, and Sam, who's one of her good friends in New York City, who is an amazing poet, by the way, Sam LaRoche, she was also with her. So Sarah and Sam were the ones where they showed face, they showed everything, they were really confident. And I was really thankful to have them when we were starting up. I also used at the time my brother's girlfriend, who was super into fitness, like had a different kind of body completely, really muscular. And it was really just to show the different body types. And I had another very good friend that was very slender. So we really tried to mix and match different kind of models, different kinds of bodies, to show the versatility of the fit. And that was important for me. Visibly a lesbian to people, and I really surround myself with people that kind of fit some of these. Okay, you would look at them and think they're pretty queer. And so these were some of my good friends that I felt showcased a wide range of who could be in the community and who might want to buy this, and it was important to reflect that. Sometimes who my customer was. My target market was in the 20s to and up. And I was thinking of, in the beginning, okay, well, I definitely need something that will fit a female body, because that's what's missing in the market. And it ended up being, people that identified as, more butch or more tomboy-like, people that were buying for their super high femme girlfriends. My trans men friends were purchasing the underwear. Then there were moms purchasing it for their gay sons, and gay boys coming up to me at a lot of the festivals and prides, buying it for themselves, for bathing suits. So, I mean, it was a lot more than I had anticipated. You know, a few of my guy friends bought it for their wives. So it's just something that seemed to appeal to more people than I thought, which is good, and makes me feel really good about the product I've produced. And even things that I didn't know if they would really sell or be differentiated than the regular market, like thongs. It was really that they just enjoyed the pattern on them. So it was really good. It was really good for swimming. So that was the funniest part. It's basically like many others. There's an elastistain and it stretches. It's not by any means waterproof, but it does really stand the test of time. I remember when we got them, I took them through many washes as part of the quality testing to see how they maintained their stretch, and they were really good. I was really pleased with it. But yeah, they turned it into a bathing suit. So just a byproduct bonus. I don't know. Somebody else fielding the inquiry under my account. But usually it'll get to me. And a lot of times, you know, I wrote personal messages to customers when I've shipped out their products. At a festival, I'll usually be present with other people, though I've had a few where I couldn't be there and had great representation. But I really love it. Like I said, it's my baby, and I worked so hard to build the company that it's really a pleasure for me to kind of sit back and have the social interaction now and answer the questions. And I really enjoy that part of sharing my knowledge. That's something that's really important to me, is that people don't have to go the way I went. There's a lot of shortcuts now to get to maybe the same place. And it's really about making sure you have the strong plan and making sure you pivot right or pivot left based on responses. And I'm much more into the coaching other people on how to do it, especially supporting entrepreneurs in the LGBTQ community that are looking to do a startup or something like that. Company from nothing. It's an amazing, amazing feeling to have this knowledge that maybe a lot of other people haven't acquired yet, and to be able to share that. And when I see someone else having a success because I supported them and coached them, that makes me feel amazing. That's what I'm proud of. Most successful, I think it's really, I mean, and success is measured differently by a lot of different people. But for me, the success is if I can help someone else to make their dream come true with what I have. That feels very successful. And I've helped a lot of other people in this community get started, make their plan, navigate manufacturing, and act as a coach. And I think that's my success. That makes me feel like I'm seasoned now as a MBA, and I can help other people to reach what they want to achieve. I didn't realize when I was first getting started all of the lead time delays that can come in. And it's funny because now that I invest in Kickstarters, I see a lot of these companies go through the same kind of pitfalls and valleys and have to get back on track, especially the technology startups that really don't know how much goes into finding the right manufacturing partners. That seems to be the biggest bottleneck, but that was surprising for me. And especially the process of pattern making something and then changing fabrics and have to pattern make all over again and change all the specs. I mean, it's not something that I've really expected. And it was nice to have people to kind of coach me through when things didn't go so well, how to do it. I also got an amazing mentor through the LGBT Chamber of Commerce. And she had started an IT company in the Northeast across all these states. And she was coaching me through what could be possible, where to take risks, where not to take risks, especially on a limited budget. And that was really helpful. Sure, you have the right amount of finance available to you and that it's realistic. You know, you need $60,000 to make a run outside the country. It's just, you know, probably starting for t-shirts or underwear or whatever it is. making sure you find the right people to help you, because I could see a lot of people in the industry taking advantage of people that just aren't knowledgeable enough to question things, especially when it comes to the quality you get back. You have to test the quality before a run would really happen. And if you get a run back where the quality is not as agreed in your contract, you have to know what to do next. And I think that those things are really difficult for some people, and some of the things that I was lucky enough to have people coaching me through. But they're quite difficult to navigate if you don't have enough economy of scale behind you and you're just a small business owner. So you have to be really careful. A lot of great positive feedback. It's actually really surprising sometimes, the messages like, I was looking for something like this, or when's the next run going to be, or how about this pattern? And they'll send me a picture of something they really like. They also ask if I ship to Canada or Australia. I get a lot of international people reaching out and wanting a special order. And so that's actually worked out really well. I'll directly contact them and we'll figure it out. But just things like that, or telling me something like, oh, would you donate to this cause? And then I donate, and they're just like really moved that I did it. And it's just a lot of great feedback. And it's been fabulous, especially, again, helping the community. Like Night of 1,000 Gallons is a big fundraiser in New York City, and a lot of other small fundraisers where we donate some product. And people are just really grateful and really appreciative. And that always makes me feel really good to get those messages. I haven't had anything really, really negative, but I have had critical feedback. And I don't see that as a bad thing. I have people talk about fit, or, their body types are really different. It's really tough for them to get underwear. Or they want, more size selection, and we only went up to a certain size, or only to a certain size for manufacturing reasons. So there's definitely critical feedback, but I think that's learning. And what do they say? When you're not winning, you're learning, and that's also winning. So I'm really appreciative of it. And we have made some changes because of things like that. And it's been good. So donate a big portion of the sales back into the community, whether it's through donated product or whether it's through time that we put in with startups or coaching or mentoring. I think that's really important to the community. And when you look at all of these things and all of these obstacles that prevent queer people in the LGBT community from moving up, especially in the business environment, people that are able to be successful need to step down and lift them up, because I think that's one of the only ways we can facilitate faster mobility in all areas of the economy. And I think it's really important. And I also wish that when I was young, there were some more mentors out there that were visible to me that I knew how to connect with. And I think that's something that's really great in the communities. We're trying to make these networks, and we're trying to create these transparent ways to find people for help. But that's really important. And I think that's what we all need to do. The initial reaction from the professors, they thought it was a joke. And when I did my final project at the end, there were professors saying, I'm willing to invest in this. So for me, that was such a huge flattery, a huge accomplishment. And yeah, it was really interesting to see them 180 turn it around and believe in what I was producing. For me, so when I first started out, I was dead set on manufacturing in the US, and I did everything I could to see if I could find underwear manufacturing in the US, and there was nothing. There was nothing. There were no resources. Every time I would find a company I thought could produce it somewhere in middle America, to be honest, because that's where they were located, I'd call them, I tried to talk to them. There's no way they could produce what I wanted. So for me, it was a huge signal. And again, this was several years ago, that there was dying manufacturing in certain areas, dying trait work in certain areas, and that this was gonna become more and more of a need if we wanted to sustain these types of things. We're the ultimate customer in the world, but what are we going to decide that we also want to produce? And that's just something that I really wish people would think a little bit more about, those career options, those opportunities. Since then, there's more factory and industry that have come back and that have gotten started again. But I have to laugh because this past year I've been taking carpentry. And even in New York, they're telling me what a shortage of carpenters they're going to have after this next generation retires. And it's just traits are not something we focus on, but I think it's something that we need to figure out how we're going to support in this country. Definitely opportunity out there. You know, there's a lot of inventors, and I think there's even a TV show where if you're an inventor, you go to this guy in this company and they figure out how to design it, how to manufacture it for you. And I think in the textile and garment industry, there's definitely a need for that here in the US still. There's a few websites, but there's really a need for it. And I think it could definitely expand as a business. Trying to think if there was anything else that was pretty significant. I would just say you have to be able to take calculated risks. And the people that leap either leap for the stars and make it, or they don't, and they learn something from it. And the next time they leap, maybe they'll make it. And I'll just say you just really got to go for it. And it's scary, especially when you're talking about more money than you've ever had in your life invested in this business. You just have to take calculated risks. And it's so much better to take a decision than not. You just have to go for it.